you're shopping for a house, and the number one thing you ask is, what is the story of my real estate agent? No, of course you don't ask that. You want to know, can he negotiate strongly on my behalf? Can he guide me easily through the market as well as through the buying and selling process? And can you trust him? You don't really care about his story, but it's in that spirit that I'm going to share with you my story. Not because my story is important, but because if you get to know me, Craig Shumway, the person, my hope is you'll be able to see that with me as your real estate agent, you'll be able to be happy to declare, I'm home. So there I was, trapped. No, not really trapped. I wasn't a fox ready to chew my leg off and get free, but I felt stuck. Have you ever felt that? I was going to work every day looking at the same fuzzy cubicle walls, taking phone call after phone call after phone call. To me, it felt like a prison. But luckily, I got lunch and nighttime release, right? I got to go hang out with my family. Now, I was a good little prisoner. I was one of the best salespeople in the company. There was one time I was taking early morning calls because we'd get calls in from the East Coast. It was about 5:30 in the morning, and I was laying on the ground in my cubicle, catching up on some sleep, right? Because that's what you do at work. A phone call came in. Someone needed some pest control. At one point in the conversation, I remember hearing the person on the other line say, "Hello, are you there?" That's right. I had fallen asleep on a phone call. Now, most people would think that the sale was over, but not me. I closed it. It was about that time that I realized I may not be challenging myself enough in life. So how did I get here? And what was I going to do at that point? So first, to understand how I got there, you need to know a little bit about me. I was a straight A student in high school. In fact, I graduated with a 4.2. You might think a 4.0 is as good as it gets, but no, I'm even smarter than that. Now, I don't tell you that just to sound smart, smarter, or better than anyone. Obviously, I want you to know I am smarter and better, but I also want you to know I hate to fail. I know that sounds silly, because no one wants to fail, but I really took that on. So with my superior intelligence and above average grades, I took my super unnerdy self to college. It was a pretty prestigious school, one that not everyone gets accepted to. In fact, a lot of people don't even bother applying. So while I was at Mesa Community College, I got my first B. I couldn't believe it. I had failed. With that failure in my pocket, I did the only reasonable thing a person can do with such disappointment. I dropped out. It is, after all, much better to tell people what you could have been than to actually try and find out you don't have what it takes. No, I'm just kidding. But just FYI, my life advice is free. Honestly though, I tell you that story because that was about the time I decided I was going to figure out life on my own terms and not on the terms of some professor. Up to this point in life, I had been a straight A student, Eagle Scout. I even served a 2-year mission in Argentina. So the summer just before my last semester in college, I had started selling pest control door to door. I had made as much money in that summer sales period as some of my professors were telling me I could make when I graduated. From there, I poured myself into sales. It wasn't easy at first. Getting doors slammed in my face, negotiating with people who weren't exactly happy I was there at their door. But it was challenging, and I was seeing results from my hard work. I moved up in the company, and I got a cushy job as an inside sales rep, working inside and taking calls from people who were actually shopping around for what I was selling. So on the inside sales team, I learned new negotiating techniques of how to talk to people who had researched information online and were shopping between different companies. I learned how to build relationships over the phone within a minute or two, and how to listen for what people really wanted and needed. So that's when I got to the point that I was selling people in my sleep. That led me to switch my career to real estate. There are a few things that led to that decision. First, I needed a career that challenged me and made me grow. I read somewhere that besides the death of a loved one, moving was the next most stressful thing a person typically goes through. While most people wouldn't want to jump into stress like that, I saw it as the perfect opportunity to bring my negotiating skills to a place that would provide tremendous personal growth. Next, I needed a career that was more meaningful. I get that a lot of people need pest control, they don't like bugs, but dealing with bugs just didn't seem as important as helping someone find where they were going to live and raise their family. Now, as a Mesa-born and bred native Arizonan, with a wife and 3 kids of my own, I knew I had a lot to offer as a real estate agent that knows the area. And I knew I could bring my expert negotiating skills to help people more impactfully. Now that is why, from the moment I got my real estate license, I have been a full-time real estate agent. Now, years later, I have been able to create trust among hundreds of clients, selling millions of dollars worth of real estate each year. So that's a little bit about my story. But above all, this comes down to creating relationships. Relationships between me and you, and being able to produce results for you where you're happy. So if you're out looking for a home or looking to sell, I would be honored if you consider me as your real estate agent. Because at the end of the day, I want you to be able to get home and be happy to declare, I'm home.